Hi everyone, it's Antonia Mercorella, CEO of the REIQ. Thanks for joining us. I want to talk to you about rental law reforms. Now, you'll remember that we saw a range of new rental laws commence here in Queensland on the 6th of June. You might also recall that when we delivered training and information about those new rental laws, we mentioned that there were a number of laws that wouldn't commence until a later date. I want to talk to you today about that date. We now have that date available to us. So today what I want to talk to you about are the remaining laws that will commence on two different dates. There are a series that will start on the 30th of September this year. Yes, you heard that right. We're only about 6 weeks away from that. And then the remaining new laws will commence on the 1st of May 2025. So what I want to do in this video is summarize both of those tranches and what commences when. And at the end of the video, as you would expect, I'll let you know about further information and training that will be made available to you. So first of all, let's have a look at what starts on the 30th of September this year. Rent payment methods. Now, this will basically mean that tenants will need to be offered at least one fee-free rent payment method. And secondly, that the tenant will need to be given a notice to advise them of any costs that are associated with a particular rent payment method. Bond claims. Now, this isn't a significant departure from current law. However, there is a new statutory time limit you need to be aware of. As you would expect, lessors and property managers will need to provide evidence if they wish to claim all of the bond or a partial amount of the bond. In other words, you need to substantiate that bond claim. That's already law today. The difference is that you will need to abide by a new 14-day limit in relation to that. Moving on to the amount of bonds that can be taken, the new laws will create a maximum cap of 4 weeks. So basically, a bond will be limited to a maximum of 4 weeks, irrespective of the rent or the weekly rent amount. So today, if it's over $700 a week, the parties can negotiate between themselves. That will no longer be an option available. And also, in some cases where a tenant has previously paid more than 4 weeks worth of bond, they will actually be able to ask for a refund of the amount over the 4 weeks at the time of renewal. Moving on to bills for service charges and water consumption charges. So the first part of this is that a tenant needs to be given a bill for a service charge or water consumption charges within 4 weeks from the date that the lessor receives that relevant bill from the relevant authority. So there will be a 4-week limit on that. And then in some cases where a tenancy doesn't align with the billing period, which of course does happen, the property manager will have the ability to calculate water charges, water consumption charges, in order to issue a bill to the tenant. Now, big changes in relation to break lease scenarios. What will happen is where a tenant wishes to end a tenancy earlier than that is contracted, they will still be liable for reletting fees. However, those reletting costs will be subject to a specific statutory formula, and that will be how you will need to calculate those reletting costs. So those are the changes that are due to start on the 30th of September this year. I now want to take you through a bit of a potted summary of what starts on the 1st of May 2025. So first of all, this is a very significant change. We will see the introduction of a prescribed tenancy application form. So all property managers and lessors will be required to use a specific regulated form for a tenancy application. And of course, in connection with that, we will also see a change in terms of the type of information that you are allowed to ask for when a tenancy application is made, and also some new laws specifically prohibiting tenants being asked for certain information. So certainly that's quite a material change. We'll also see some changes in relation to verification of identity and how you can go about verifying a tenant's identity, I beg your pardon. In connection with the fee-free rent method I've already mentioned, we will see a new requirement where property managers will be required to disclose any type of financial benefit they receive in connection with a particular rent payment method that is offered to a tenant. When it comes to entry notices and entry requirements more generally, we will see that entry notice periods will be doubled from 24 hours notice to 48 hours notice. And similarly, there will be new restrictions applied to how many times one can gain entry where a Form 12 or a Form 13 has been issued by either the tenant or the lessor. In relation to fixtures and structural changes, there will be a new process that tenants can use to request an attachment of a fixture to a property or some type of structural change. Again, some changes to the ways that tenants go about asking for that and the processes for dealing with such requests from tenants. And of course, also some changes in relation to personal information. So these changes will govern the type of personal information you can collect, how you go about storing that personal information, and of course, ultimately, how you go about the destruction of that personal information you hold about tenants or prospective tenants. So that is a very brief summary of what's coming your way. What we wanted to do today is get this video out as quickly as possible to let you know. We only received notification of this after 5 o'clock last night, so we've jumped on it very, very quickly. And as you would expect, as your peak body, we will be ensuring that we develop the usual high-quality resources that you would expect from us. So we're already working crazily behind the scenes on this. So please keep an eye out for those educational resources and, of course, more comprehensive training. What I'd ask you to do is share this video far and wide with all of your property management colleagues and your lessors and tenants so that we can ensure that the Queensland community are ready for these changes, and make sure you keep both your eyes and ears open for more news to come on the training that's coming your way. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.